are back. So, gosh, Tim, I found a declassified memo today.
I think we all did.
I think I found a declassified memo. It was instructing me to pick up milk. That's my declassified memo. Anyway. So we haven't really weighed in on the Oscars yet. What your general feeling? And I wrote a piece, by the way.
We're talking about the
nominations, and I wrote a piece, by the way, diversity versus diversity, just
Great
kind of
piece.
weighing in a little bit on DigiGods.com. So go check that out. We'll all have some musings about the Oscars as we draw close to the awards. But thoughts on the nominations?
We're sort of into the middle of the Guild Awards right now. The nominations are solid across the board. Let me say this: 10 slots, 9 Best Picture nominations.
Yeah.
Empty slot there.
Yeah.
I can think of a couple of movies to put in that slot.
Sure.
I'm a big Florida Project fan.
And I, Tonya
easily. And so you don't have to knock anybody out.
Yeah.
To add a couple of movies that I really would like.
Sure.
So it's not one of those sort of situations. When we get down to the other categories, I find myself in a situation where I would not swap anybody for somebody I would prefer. There are things I would prefer. Adam Sandler, I thought, was pretty outstanding in Meyerowitz stories. Best Supporting Actor, sure. I'd love to see him nominated for that. But I wouldn't bump anybody that's on that list to nominate him. I just wish he was nominated. And as I work my way down that list, I can do that again and again and again, but I'm not bumping anybody out.
Molly's game for me. I would have loved to see Jessica Chastain get that Meryl Streep slot, which seems to be reserved every year.
For Meryl.
For Meryl, it's at this point. I mean, she's good in the post.
I want to see Jessica on the list, but I don't want Meryl off the list. I actually don't. I actually really like that performance. And it's a stately, solid as a rock. Meryl, Helen. I can think of her and Helen could pull that off. Who else?
Somebody has to come in 6th and 7th and 8th, and you never know. Yeah,
but see, those people. We always talk about people or movies being snubbed.
Yeah.
I don't think anyone was snubbed.
Nobody gets snubbed.
No. This is just a situation of where you didn't have to get nominated. That's all. But you weren't snubbed, you just weren't nominated.
Yeah.
It's not the same thing.
Yeah.
But as you know what I like most about the list of nominations? You work your way down that list and you find yourself, and then when you work your way through the list deeply, not just the major categories, but your production designs and your screenplay and adapted screenplay writing, you find brown and black people and women and Asian people and Mexican people every freaking where.
First ever female nominee for Best Cinematography.
Rachel Morrison. Which is
a big deal.
A big deal. People are a little upset that Dee Rees, director of Mudbound, didn't catch a nom as Best Director. She got a nomination as a co-nomination, Best Adapted Screenplay for Mudbound.
And I have a theory there too. And people have to remember, as I said to my class when I taught film history, the Oscars are not a barometer of objective truth. There is no this is the best film and these are the best films. You can't get upset with that. It's political. And it's a barometer of, all it tells you, it's a snapshot of what the members of the Academy, who are theoretically supposed to represent the elite of the business, what they value among their own at any given point in time. And the nominations are, branches nominate. So some branches are more political than others. For the longest time, there was a ridiculous bias in the composers. In the music branch where, it's small enough that the composer can kind of work his buddies and get nominated. And, Michael Nyman for the piano, not nominated. For the longest time in the cinematographer's branch, you had to be one of a certain elite group. And being an American cinematographer who was not, Haskell Wexler, it was almost impossible. So, I mean, there are all kinds of weird cliques that, you have to sort of account for. And those seem to be changing or at least breaking down.
Yeah, well, the nature of the Academy itself, people forget that the Academy was conceived as an organization to promote motion pictures.
Yeah. and subvert unions.
Yeah, it's a gigantic press organization.
Of course it is.
It's what it is.
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, all of the calculus in all of the nominations, is about what will get a whole lot of people to watch these movies, watch this show.
Well, they've been doing a crappy job for 10 years.
You know, it's not. Well, yeah, even maybe even longer.
Yeah.
You know, I can remember when people like David Niven and Johnny Carson hosted the Academy Awards.
Yeah.
I had no problem with Jimmy Kimmel. He's great. You know, it's kind of like having Johnny Carson, but
Well, movies need to step it up, and we say that on a regular basis. Look, it used to be that was the only entertainment game in town, and it was something extraordinary. And now, when people can make YouTube videos and post them and get millions of people to watch them instead of a movie, they have to step it up. They got to find the next step,
streaming this, that, and the other thing.
Yeah.
Plus, my TV is gigantic. So.
And there are workmen working nearby here.
Yeah.
So if you hear, we don't do this in a soundproof studio, folks. So if there's some hammering and banging, then that's just how it goes. I'm going to start off. I'm going to blow through a bunch of kid vid. Haven't done that in a while. My daughter just turned 5. Can't believe it.
No
Those who've
way.
listened to this show for any period of time will probably be amazed as well. Yes, indeed. I have a 5-year-old now. And she doesn't stop talking ever. I don't. Those of you, gods at DigiGods.com, gods at DigiGods.com. Please tell me, is this unusual for a 5-year-old? That literally from the moment that she wakes up until the moment she falls asleep, there is not a breath taken?
I thought that was about 2 years. That was not 2-year-olds. That's 5-year-olds.
5. She just doesn't stop talking about everything.
I was an elementary school teacher, but I never did kindergarten kids.
When you grow up, you realize that not every single thought needs to be verbalized, and probably most of them should not be. Not so when you're 5. Everything that comes into her head comes right out of her mouth. Absolutely everything. So anyway, let me bounce through a few of these things here. My daughter loves Minnie. She has never stopped loving Minnie. She is all into Minnie and a little bit into Daisy, but Minnie, she's big on Minnie. This is Disney Minnie Helping Hands from Disney Junior. Essentially, this is the Mickey's Playhouse version of Minnie and Daisy. And there are 8 episodes in this spin-off show, which is perfectly sweet and fine. This is how a large segment of the youth today know Mickey Mouse and Minnie. They don't know them from the shorts, from the original movies, from Fantasia or anything. They just know them from TV, from these CG animated shows, which I have begun to watch an awful lot of, I'm sad to say. It's perfectly fine. This skews to a certain group. The Best of Daniel Tiger's Neighborhood Friends collection. Not, hugely into Daniel Tiger. This is from PBS Kids, part of the Fred Rogers legacy over there. Skews much younger than 5. I'll say that. This is kind of more a 3-year-old. My daughter never really got into this, but it also has a following. Bunch of Nickelodeon stuff today, all of which continues to kind of have a weird following. Hey Arnold, the Jungle movie.
Hey Arnold.
Did you ever watch this?
I would with my niece when she was a little girl.
Yeah,
we'd do a little Hey Arnold. I thought it was, I liked it.
I guess. I mean, I guess. I never. This was part of a certain moment in Nickelodeon where I think probably if you weren't a kid of a certain age and you didn't grow up with it, you wouldn't appreciate it.
Yeah.
Same kind of goes for Rugrats. Rugrats had its moment.
Yeah.
We got Rugrats 3 and 4 here. Watch a little bit of this again. And, it does hold up, but the style of animation is definitely one of a different era. Kind of belongs to that Hey Arnold era.
Yeah, flat.
The Ren and Stimpy, right?
Yeah.
Where it's flat, it's 2D, but everything's just a little bit misshapen and kind of exaggerated. And
squiggles around a little bit.
Yeah, there was a moment where that was the thing in animation.
Dr. Katz.
A good friend of mine from school worked on Rugrats for quite a while and learned a great deal. And they made Rugrats movie. I mean, it was popular enough to do a feature film. There's lots here. This is they had previously released seasons 1 and 2. Now we're into seasons 3 and 4. And the show does get better as it goes along. Some cute episodes here. The Mysterious Mr. Friend was a really good one from season 3. And there were a couple in season 4 that I really enjoyed. America's Wackiest Home Movies. I thought was very, very clever. And The Turkey Who Came to Dinner. Also very entertaining. We have live action here. JoJo Siwa, My World. This is also from Nickelodeon. This is the I really don't know who JoJo is. I'm going to be honest, but this is her concert, and apparently this is like she's like a what Britney Spears once was or something.
Like
Anyway.
now?
Well, she's she's like she was on YouTube and then she became a
she's one of
Nickelodeon.
those.
Yeah, she's Anyway, she's got a big bow in her hair and
I don't even go over there, dude. I don't even go over there.
Anyway, it's a concert from Mall of America, and I'm sure if I were like an 8-year-old girl,
You're talking to a person who once about 10 years ago now covered the premiere of that Jonas Brothers movie.
Oh dear,
the concert Jonas Brothers movie. And I'm standing there, I'm covering the premiere. I got the microphone, and this kid, shaggy hair, walks up to me, and I look at he's on the other side of the red, and I said, "Hey man, can you tell me who one of these Jonas Brothers are? Can you point one of them out to me?" He says, "Well, you're talking to one now."
Oh dear.
I'm like, "Oh,
no,
sorry, dude." He's like, "That's all right, man. You don't have any reason to know who I am." So anyway, that's where I live.
Good times.
Well, sorry. It was Nick. It was Nick, by the way. Hey, Nick. Sorry about that day, bro.
Another one from Nickelodeon, Shimmer and Shine. I love Shimmer and Shine. I'll be unabashed about that. And I think the reason I love Shimmer and Shine is because they're genies. They're cute little genies, and anything related that brings back I Dream of Jeannie in my mind, I'm all about. Shimmer and Shine, Beyond the Rainbow Falls. And they're also part of that whole Nick thing, like Bubble Guppies with the big eyes, big heads, cute little bodies.
Yeah.
Kind of like that artwork. I don't know why.
I know why children love it, that's for sure.
It's cute. So you've got 7 episodes here from the wonderful Shimmer and Shine Beyond the Rainbow Falls in the world of Rainbow Zarame. It's cute animation, very clever little stories, and you have like hairdos and don'ts. Flower power, water bent, whatever floats your boat. It's cute show and cute animation. I can recommend that. Got a couple of things from Mill Creek, little vintage shows in complete series sets. Horseland and Street Sharks. Now, this goes back a little ways. Not far enough back for me to necessarily remember when they came on, but I have like a vague recollection.
Street Sharks, of course.
You remember Street Sharks?
Yes.
Yeah. Dr. Paradigm, and basically.
I remember the little. I think it was Mattel or something like that with the little actual.
Yeah, it was kind of like it's sort of like a weird mutated DNA thing that prefigures the giant shark on the Flash.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
It's a little bit on the rough edge. This is like probably good for some tweaked boys. This was back in the 90s, so those kids now are going to be, I don't know, in their 30s, and you'll probably be just as tweaked watching it. Horseland's not bad. I was ready to kind of rip on this thing and go, "Oh, it's My Little Pony." And no, actually, it's not bad. It's got talking horses and a bunch of kids, and it's kind of dorky and goofy, but. It actually, in terms of being educational about how to care for horses and encouraging respect for horses, it survives. It still kind of resonates a little bit. And then let's jump into let's see here. I'm going to do this one. This is from the Miffy's Adventures line. This is Playdate with Miffy. This skews really, really young. This is super preschool age stop motion stuff. 11 stories here. Really, really skews young. It's just, Miffy's a little bunny and has little bunny friends. I prefer Peppa Pig. My daughter loved Peppa Pig when she was really little. Still does. Peppa Pig really resonates. But this skews a lot younger, and it's cute-ish. It's kind of like Teletubbies not on LSD. So Playdate with Miffy for your preschooler, your super young preschooler would be perfectly fine. Disney's Vampirina. I never thought I'd say those words. This is from Disney Junior. I'm going to talk about this in the same breath with Howard Lovecraft. We're a little creepy here. So on DVD we have Vampirina, which feels like they're trying to take a little vampire girl and make her into like a Doc McStuffins thing.
Mm-hmm.
Don't do that. Don't do that. That's not a good idea. I don't know who really thought this up, but it's kind of weird and it's a little bit creepy. Little vampire girl. Not really down with her being cute with the little bat wing shaped pigtails.
Yeah.
It's no. This is trying to put a good face on something that's not that cute. It's like Vampira before when she was a little girl. It's just
no.
too weird. This one is a little bit more interesting. This is from Shout Factory. This is Howard Lovecraft and the Undersea Kingdom. Great voice work, including Mark Hamill and Christopher Plummer. Blu-ray and DVD combo set. This didn't get a great deal of play theatrically, and I think it probably should have. It's actually kind of goes in line with a lot of this. Who did the what's the animation factory that's just up here up north in Washington that does like all the James and the Giant Peach type stuff, the stop motion. Yeah. Anyway, it's kind of in line with that with that stuff. Anyway, it doesn't really have much to do with Lovecraft, the original Lovecraft author. This is based on a graphic novel. And it's eerie, it's creepy, but it's not too much so. It's very creative, probably skews more 9-10-year-old kids. That's probably the better age for something like this. But it's it's very creative and very nicely done. So I would like to have seen this kind of undersea adventure and this little kind of kid-oriented macabre get a better theatrical release. It did not, because it was not released by a major studio, and that's always a handicap these days.
Skellington. I think that's the name of that production company.
No. I'm drawing a complete blank now. But anyway, Queen for a Day. This is from the Disney Tangled series, and Tangled never should have been a series, but it is. So we get a few episodes from the Tangled series, which is perfectly fine. It's not really 3D animation. It's not really 2D animation. It's kind of somewhere in between, and that's fine. Show's okay. They really shouldn't have done this as a show, but they make the best of it nonetheless. And last few, Disney's DuckTales.
Yeah.
Which I still enjoy, even in its new incarnation. This is they have 6 bonus shorts on here as well. This is Woo-Oo and WOO-00, kind of a weird title for this thing. Ludwig von Drake and Huey, Dewey, and Louie. A lot of fun. Scrooge McDuck. A lot of fun. I still like the whole duck thing. PBS Kids, Super Why, Sleeping Beauty and Other Fairy Tale Adventures. Super Why is great for teaching kids how to learn how to read and stuff. It really is. It's very formulaic. It's very straightforward, but it's been really good for my daughter. And this has 4 reading adventures on it based on Sleeping Beauty, Frog Prince, the 12 Dancing Princesses, and Princess Gwenny. And they're really great. I really like the whole Super Why thing. It's really grown on me. You can kind of morph from that into Young Einsteins very easily.
Yeah.
Last few here, Regal Academy, Rose Cinderella, and Fairy Tale Land. As long as we're talking about fairy tales, this skews a lot older. This is teenage girls. You may not. I don't know. It depends if you want your teenage daughter watching super hyper fashionable teenage cartoon princesses, which will, you're gonna be buying a lot of new stuff.
Yeah.
I would think twice. This has 3 episodes in it, each of them roughly 20-some minutes long. And, I could kind of enjoy this, but at the same time, I don't think I would let a teenage girl near that show.
Yeah.
And then the last 2, much more my speed. Cartoon Network, Steven Universe, the complete first season. I actually think this is really cool. 52 episodes. 52 episodes in the first season. Featurettes, musical performances, the whole thing. I thoroughly enjoy the Steven Universe thing. I think it's cool and funny, and I like the whole musical aspect to it. So I recommend that. Definitely check that out. And then I didn't even know about this. Static Shock, the complete 3rd season, DC. This is from Warner Brothers. Static Shock. You familiar with Static Shock?
Yeah.
I didn't know about the Static Shock.
Yeah. I didn't. I know about it as a cartoon, but that's fairly recent stuff.
Yeah.
Static Shock. Yeah.
Static Shock. Cool hero, cool superhero thing. Fights, he's
It's sort of a teenage Black Lightning kind of guy.
Yes, and we get a little goes to Gotham City here, and we get a little Batman crossover with Poison Ivy and Batman and Harley Quinn. Yeah, it's great. Brainiac shows up. It's cool, cool little DC hero action that I was not familiar with. So Static Shock, 3rd season. Check him out. He's cool. Definitely cool.
And as we have Black Panther coming up, that's sort of
which you have seen and I have not.
Yeah.
What's the word on Black Panther?
Well, embargo.
Yeah.
The word is embargo.
Yeah,
But I will say this about it: it's very good. Michael B. Jordan walks away with that movie. I won't say
Sweet.
Anything.
Very sweet.
Fantastic.
Good to know.
Gonna do some music.
Do some music.
On Blu-ray here, Bee Gees, One for All tour, live in Australia, 1989. So this was the last of 3 tours, of 3 concerts that they did in 1989. By 1989, I was a little bit over the Bee Gees.
I wasn't.
In 1979, though, I was. They
still
came
not
to St.
over the Bee
Louis.
Gees.
The Bee Gees, I loved my Bee Gees. I love my Bee Gees. But in that late 70s, that whole run there,
that was it.
in this tour and on this DVD, they got tracks going back to their stuff in the late 60s.
Oh wow.
So if you're a Bee Gee guy, how many we only got Barry left. Is Barry
That's
the last?
it. Barry's the last
Barry's
one.
the last one.
Yeah.
You're gonna do anyway. This is pretty neat. And if you're a Bee Gees fan, it's pretty much a must-have. So you're gonna want to go ahead and get hold of that for sure. The gospel songs of Bob Dylan. Got to serve somebody. Bob has done a lot of interesting things over the course of his career. Of course, there was that moment when he went electric.
Yeah.
And then he roamed around with the traveling Wilburys for a while there.
He's such a lovably eccentric, self-deprecating guy.
And then Bob, the Jew, decided that he wanted to be an evangelical Christian.
Yeah.
And he made a record full of gospel songs, which are actually pretty good. This is full of all kinds of appearances, the Neville brothers and Shirley Caesar, and they're singing original songs, contemporary to the, and as well as some. So this is neat. I don't know, Bob Dylan, doing gospel music. I had to let it go. We've been talking about music back and forth, you and a couple of the guys, and Mark.
Yeah,
because Mark, but I had to let it go.
Here's the thing about Bob Dylan. My favorite Bob Dylan moment was when he won the Nobel.
Mm-hmm.
And everybody's like, "Oh my gosh, Bob Dylan won a Nobel, Bob!" Oh, everybody's waiting for Bob Dylan to weigh in on his Nobel, and it was like 3 or 4 days, and people and everyone went from being, "Oh, Bob, Bob, you're being a jerk, man. Are you going to accept this or not? Say thank you or say something, anything. What, you just running silent?" And after about like 5 or 6 days, Bob comes in and sort of says, "Yeah, I really appreciate this. I'm really honored. Thank you very much." And that was it. I think he did fly over to accept it, but he's just a real.
He sent Petty.
Oh, that's right.
He sent Petty Smith. To do what? Sing, or read a poem. She did something. I don't know. Whatever.
Anyway, I find him so refreshing and not programmed.
Look, Bob can do whatever the hell Bob wants to do. That's when he started singing gospel music, I'm like, you know what? I got my family church is around the corner. I'm going down there and take care of that, Bob. I got it. Knock that one out for me.
Oh yeah, we got Leonardo da Vinci, Didone Abbandonata.
That's why I wanted you to do it.
Yeah. I'm sure I'm completely destroying that. This is effectively an opera in 3 acts about Leonardo da Vinci, and I did not know that this even existed. They find the damnedest things to make operas about these days, like Nixon in China. I remember when that thing happened, and then the death of Klinghoffer, and I'm like, okay, you're pretty much making an opera about anything. Wade goes shopping. Write me an opera.
Yeah, I mean the death of Klinghoffer, the guy with the wheelchair and the thing like that. But this is an opera.
You realize we could very well wind up with a Trump the opera. I would not put that past somebody.
Opera used to involve Valkyries. It would be winged, but whatever.
So anyway, I've always found Da Vinci to be a fascinating figure. I'm not sure that Da Vinci in opera makes a lot of sense to me, but it's fine. I mean, if you're an opera fan, it's probably a nice little curiosity item to check it out. But I wouldn't buy it, rent it. Yeah. If you can find somebody that rents it.
I don't know. True-born African. Winston Flames Jarrett is one of the founding pioneers of not just reggae, but frankly the precursor to reggae ska.
Mm.
Because people very often sort of like confuse those things. This is a documentary mostly told in his own words. This is mostly Winston sitting there in a chair and roaming around through his life. Lots of archival footages and some performances
Right.
and all that kind of stuff. And ska is a music that I more appreciate than like reggae. The rhythm of reggae is actually more my thing.
It's interesting to me how, because there've been a number of building blocks, and ska obviously informs reggae, but reggae has now informed a lot of stuff. I
Yeah.
mean, if you listen to, I'm a big No Doubt fan.
Yeah.
If you listen to No Doubt's first album, especially,
Yeah.
there is reggae and ska influence all
All
over
over
that
that
thing,
thing,
all
yeah.
over that thing,
Yeah.
and obviously it became a big deal in a lot of stuff in the '80s. A lot of bands kind of took that lead and ran with it.
Yeah. Good stuff. Blue Hats Creative presents L7. I loved L7. Look, feminist punk ass rock and roll. Just ridiculously hot, transgressive chicks just refusing to participate. It's funny that here now in this movement, that this Me Too movement, this this thing that's going on. That this kind of stuff sort of has a different sort of set to it now, a different sort of feel to it now.
True.
Chicks, we wonder why some of these young women, all the way back, I'm a big Joan Jett and the Blackhearts fan, I'm all all that kind of stuff. We wonder about these women from back in the day who were so refusing to participate in the sort of male patriarchal. Well, that's why.
Yeah.
That's why these women came out of that. They saw what the world was shaped like, particularly the music world.
Yeah.
And they said, you know what, girls, we're gonna have to do this our own way.
Yeah.
And poke some dudes in the eye, and I love that. Anyway, this is this Blu-ray DVD deluxe set, 2 full documentaries, loads and loads of bonus materials, and including Chris Novoselic's documentary, The Beauty Process, which is really great. Bonus material, live songs, deleted scenes, much, much more. L7, a band I truly love.
Terrific. All right, let's do some new movies. Woody Woodpecker. I don't. Where did this thing come from? This was like I don't even. Was this ever going to get a theatrical release? What was the story on this? This is basically CGI Woody Woodpecker with live action people done like they did the Garfield films, which started with Bill Murray doing Garfield's voice, not very well.
Yeah.
This is just this. I mean. Do you know if this was ever going to get a theatrical release, or was this supposed to be straight to DVD?
It had to be. It had to always be a straight to DVD sort of situation,
sure
right?
So anyway.
Roger Rabbit years ago when they figured that. I guess it goes back longer. You had who was Gene Kelly dancing around with
Tom and Jerry.
Yeah, Tom and Jerry way back then. The technology hasn't gotten any better.
Well, anyway, the whole thing here is, you got forestation and poachers, and Woodpecker's home in the forest is in jeopardy, and yada yada. And of course, he does his and he's
Woody was always really irritating to me.
So irritating. Walter Lantz, just all those guys kind of came out of the Looney Tunes family, and Walter Lantz went bananas and created one of the most annoying characters ever. He just said, "Why don't I make a woodpecker who's 10 times more annoying than Bugs Bunny?" No, don't do that.
No, Woody needed the diagnosis.
Anyway, so if you're curious, go ahead and check it out. It's on DVD with a Movies Anywhere code on it. You could store it on your Movies Anywhere digital locker for posterity. Woody Woodpecker. Oh my word.
Only the Brave. Great cast in this thing. Of course, about the Granite Mountain hotshot firefighters. Who lost their lives in one of the recent crazy freaking fires.
This is an amazing story. I described this at the time as the best Peter Berg film not made by Peter Berg.
Yeah.
And
not
starring Mark Wahlberg.
Yeah. Isn't it though?
It is.
Josh Brolin, Miles Teller, Jeff Bridges, James Badge Dale, Taylor Kitsch, and the extraordinary Jennifer Connelly, who only gets more beautiful every second.
And you know what? This movie did not get enough attention. It really didn't. I think partly because it is sort of it's such a kind of a macho rah-rah hero Peter Berg type movie. But it's got a lot going for it and a lot of good performances. Jennifer Connelly is tremendous, and there are some really unbelievably strong, heartfelt moments here. And the firefighting stuff's as good as anything I've ever seen.
Yeah, better than the days of Backdrafts. Lots of deleted scenes and commentary and all kinds of stuff on that too, by the way.
We got a really just utterly silly thing here. Keep Watching from Sony. This is a straight to video, basically kind of a horror thriller with home intruders, and it's a home invasion thing. What's lame about this? And there's kind of a I won't give all the details away. There's a whole there's a streaming thing to this. There's a really exploitative, voyeuristic streaming angle to this. Hence the name Keep Watching. But what's lame about this is how they promote it.
With the It artwork, the artwork from It.
Basically, they show it's a camera attached to a whole bunch of balloons, like red and white blood-covered balloons. Now, this is a shameless way to basically try to piggyback on It, which was recently released and which is storming everything up on DVD and Blu-ray, to say, hey, if you're into It, you'll really like this movie that has nothing to do with It, but we put some balloons in the cover anyway.
Red and white balloons, and
that's cynical marketing.
If they had put clown faces on the red and white balloons,
yeah,
then it would have been
cynical marketing.
This movie here, Walking Out, Matt Bomer, Josh Wiggins, and Bill Pullman. Bill Pullman particularly good in this movie. This movie is one of those movies that I had to see it for the show.
Yeah.
Back when it came out, and it was actually a fairly heartfelt and moving little movie about this young man who goes to visit his father, who hasn't seen him. His father's one of these sort of outdoorsy types, like hunting and all that kind of stuff. This is like a city kid who not so much into that, but he does want to see his father and have a relationship with his father. And we have these few moments that we spend with Bill Pullman, who's the grandfather of the whole sort of little triumvirate there. And it's, and some moving stuff. Then something happens, and we end up in this very, very different movie, which, kind of put me off a little bit because it was a little dark. But nevertheless, it was one of those endurance sort of films, you know, where the boy's going to have to do, and he's going to have to grow up and be a man. One of those grow up and be a man kind of things. And I don't know, some of that stuff was kind of okay with me. Lovely set out in the out in the wilds of nowhere. So anyway, kind of a neat movie. So I would check it out. Special features, behind the scenes footage, and a trailer there that you might want to check out too. The Stolen, which is actually another neat little film. Alice Eve, who stars in this film, reminds me of a young Nicole Kidman.
Yep.
Self a beautiful blonde.
I like Alice Eve. I think she's still got her big breakthrough coming. But
true. Now this is set in South Island, New Zealand. It's about this woman who marries a rich guy who's a little bit older than her, and she goes down there to live with him, on the ranch, the money, and all that kind of stuff. And they have a son. When the husband is killed, which is no spoiler, and her son goes missing, she has to marshal all of her resources to catch the murderers of her husband and go get her son back. So it's one of those women, a fish out of water woman, yet on a mission kind of movies. And I got to tell you, I like those. I like those quite a lot. So that's kind of a neat movie. The Accident Man.
Yeah.
Scott Adkins film. This is still floating around theaters around and about as we speak about this. Neat film, not bad at all. It's about this guy who's a hitman, really, really, really good hitman. His whole thing is his hits look like accidents, and the cops can't figure them out. Needless to say, his people really like that. His clients, the people who hire him, really like that. Something goes down, and somebody he knows gets involved in the thing, and before he knows it, he has to go against the kind of folks who have been hiring him to pull off hits and try to save them. Scott Adkins, Michael Jai White, neat little movie, action-oriented kind of thing. Watch it on DVD because you had no reason to spend $17 on this. I can tell you that right now.
So we're getting a lot of kind of horror-themed stuff coming over from Halloween. That's all coming out now in January and February. And one of them is The Houses October Built 2. Now, I did not see The Houses October Built 1, but clearly the story is pretty much the same. You're kind of, as I get the sense, you kind of pick up after these kids have been terrorized by this group called the Blue Skeleton, which is like a bunch of sadists who love to spook the daylights out of you, and they go a little bit overboard. And so these kids are like, wow, glad that's over. And of course it all starts all over again. So it ain't over. No. It's fine. I mean, it's kind of generic scares, but I guess if they wouldn't have made a second one if the first one didn't have a certain popularity. So
Yeah, well, I got
take
one,
a-
I got one
take
of those over here.
take dig on in.
Tyler Perry's Boo 2!
Oh no!
Exclamation point.
Yeah.
Which I love the exclamation point. Boo 2!
Boo
Exclamation point.
2.
So 2016
Yeah.
gave us Tyler Perry's Boo.
Yeah.
This is Boo 2. Look, this is what I have to say about. First of all, let me say that I've gotten over myself regarding Tyler Perry
And Medea.
and Medea. I'm over myself.
Yeah.
I have been poking at these movies for nigh on the 15 years now.
Yeah.
And I realized that guy has built an empire and does not give a damn
Yep.
about me whining about his movies over here. So go for it, Tyler Perry.
Yep.
These movies are actually quite funny, which is why they made a second one. You know,
Yep.
that's just the bottom of the line. And this is what I will say about these movies. You know, for a filmmaker to be able to simply make the movies that they want to make the way that they want to make them, on their own accord without anybody greenlighting them, is a hell of a thing to achieve in this town. And we pat a lot of people on the back. Christopher Nolan is a guy that can do that. We pat him on the back. Zack Snyder is a guy who can do that. We pat him on the back. Tyler Perry is a guy who can do that.
Yep.
And you know what? Pat on the back,
Yep.
Tyler. Make
Yep.
as many of these dumbass movies as you want to.
And here's another one. Inoperable with you always know when you have names above the title and you've never heard of these people, you know what you're dealing with. Inoperable is a Cinedigm release starring Danielle Harris, Jeff Denton, and Katie Keene. Yeah, look, I wish you all the best. I'm glad you got starring names, but I don't know who any of you are. So the idea here is that it's one of these claustrophobic horror films with something's going on outside, and the something going on outside is a hurricane, and there's a woman inside this abandoned hospital. And what's going on with the hurricane? Well, there's some kind of supernatural thing related to the hurricane, and it all gets very spooky and lots of screaming and dark, shadowy hospital stuff. And horror films keep going back to hospitals, I guess, because people have a hospital phobia.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, all right. Anyway, it's called Inoperable. It is serviceable for the gimmick that it tries to exploit.
Yeah, yeah. A Bad Mom's Christmas. This, I suppose,
I'm
capitalized on that
stunned.
little run of. Yeah, I guess it goes back to the Bridesmaids now.
Sure.
Maybe a little further, but there.
Yeah.
And we've had these run of movies with the ladies.
Yeah.
Out and about doing things that otherwise would have happened in the movie with a bunch of boys.
Sure.
And they're loud and they're rude and they're crude and they're obnoxious, but they're still good moms. And we still love them, and they're all hot. So I don't know that's a theme in these things, and I suppose they're funny. I don't find them particularly funny, but to my defense, let me say that I didn't find the one with the boys funny either.
No.
I mean every fifth one.
This movie was not made for you or for me.
No.
This is made for women who are yearning for their youth, and they're raising kids, and they're wondering what happened, and they just want a little release, want to feel a little bit crazy again. And this is kind of a cathartic thing. It's not very good, but I totally get why it's popular.
Mila Kunis, Christian Bale, Catherine Hahn, Cheryl Hines, Christine Baranski, who's always actually quite funny, and Susan Sarandon.
Yep. Kill Order, the perfect weapon, the ultimate target. Who comes up with these taglines? I should have a job. I should employ me to come up with taglines. I know you did. I know. It's funny. Anyway, so this is one of those kind of action martial arts things that is made here that aspires to look more like what they make over there, meaning in Hong Kong and in China and Indonesia and Vietnam, who are making all the great martial arts stuff these days. So a guy named Chris Mark stars in this thing, and it's basically kind of an ET-ish X-Men story. He's a kid with weird memories and superpowers, and a bunch of people storm the school because they want him for whatever secret experimental reason that he represents something. So he has to go on the run, and his superpowers, his mutant super martial arts abilities manifest themselves, and we get a lot of action stuff, and that's fine. So I don't know what the relationship is between Chris Mark, who stars in this, this, and James Mark, who wrote and directed it. I'm going to assume that they are brothers, and more power to them. Knock yourselves out. It's not, it's very formulaic, but it's perfectly competent, and if you're fan of the serious martial arts stuff, you won't much like it. But and then we also on DVD have Red Dog True Blue. It's another dog movie. There will never be an end to them. We've had them for 80 some years, and we will continue to. This is about a kid played by Levi Miller who goes off to Granddad's, and he finds a scrappy little dog and falls in love with the dog. And that's it. It's a kid and a dog, and the only thing that's more that's more entrenched in Hollywood lore are kids and horses.
Yeah,
true.
Yeah, that's it. Kids and dogs, kids and horses.
Kids and dogs, kids and horses, and for some reason, kids and cats and hamsters never really caught on. But boy, anyway, it's Red Dog True Blue. This won the Heartland Film Festival last year, and it actually had a presence at Berlin and Toronto and Sundance, and it's got a deleted scenes and alternate ending bit in here. Nothing that's really that significant, but it is of this genre. It is above average, so I'll be fair to it and say that.
This Girl Without Hands is an extraordinarily beautiful film. Just animation.
Yeah.
And it's a fairy tale. But for me, it was a little bit on the brutal side as it sort of works its way through these sort of stories that goes through. But the animation is absolutely extraordinary. Very simple, sort of almost a gouache and sort of line drawing kind of thing that we were talking about before. But it was dazzling. And if you do not mind watching the sort of original incarnation of a Grimm fairy tale, which are always darker and more brutal and than the ones that we've come to know, then you really will be watching an extraordinarily lovely piece of animation from Sebastian Lautenbach. This happens to have the bonus features, including an interview with Sebastian, some of his other short films and whatnot. Geostorm, another Gerard Butler movie. Gerard has become this guy who puts himself in these big sort of outlandish he's in Den of Thieves right now.
Yeah.
Movies that are perfectly ludicrous, but they have a good cast. They have this sort of big sort of apocalyptic themes or whatnot. This one, Geostorm, him, Jim Sturgis, Abby Cornish, Ed Harris, Andy Garcia. The whole idea is that the weather's going crazy, so the world leaders build this sort of like satellite network of this network of satellites that are meant to control the weather, and somehow the network of satellites get out of control and start creating storms all over this. So we have to figure out. And of course, Gerard Butler's the guy you want to call when that's happening.
Gerard Butler. He could have had a much better career, and I don't know who picks his stuff.
I mean, coming off Phantom of the Opera, which was not a big hit, but he displayed some real chops there. And then of course Spartacus, big old actiony thing, and then what?
He's just turned into a generic action film hack, and it's really sad. I don't. Anyway.
Yeah, one for the money.
Guess,
Some people do, and you know what? Yeah,
take the payday. I know. I'd like to see him do better work, but you know what? I'm sure he's got boat payments.
Yeah.
24 Hours to Live, starring Ethan Hawke. He'll stop when he's dead. Another favorite tagline. So here's the deal. The people who made John Wick decided, hey, let's make another John Wick. Who's about Keanu Reeves' age? Who needs a shot in the eye? Ethan Hawke.
Yeah.
Now here's the thing. Ethan Hawke is a guy that I would have nominated for an Oscar this year for his role in Maudie. If you didn't see Maudie is a wonderful Canadian movie.
That's another one. That's one. Yeah.
But Maudie fell a little bit off the radar because Sally Hawkins, who stars in Maudie as the famous Canadian folk artist of the title, it was also in The Shape of Water. Yeah. So that's the Sally Hawkins movie.
That's the flashier performance.
The flashier performance. She's kind of a mute, So they elevated. She's kind of handicapped, disabled in both of them.
Yeah.
Maudie is a little bit slow in the head and has kind of clubbed feet and has all these family issues. I mean, the story of Maudie is amazing. Anyway, Ethan Hawke plays Maudie's husband. He's tremendous. It's the best performance he's ever given, but Maudie fell off the radar. So Ethan Hawke said, screw it, I'm going to do action film stuff. Give me a couple of guns. So he stars in 24 Hours to Live, where he just shoots people, and it's just, he used to be special ops, and he's come back in to take... All right, it's one of those. It's basically John Wick, same deal. And there's a it's basically the same thing. So anyway, 24 Hours to Live. It's the title comes from kind of a DOA thing. If you've seen DOA, they kind of
Yeah.
merge this with DOA, and it's a it's a it's a cheat. It's still just an excuse for Ethan Hawke to play action hero, and he's fine at it. It's just not a very good movie, but he gives it his all. And I do like Ethan Hawke, but I just want him to do more films like Maudie.
It's funny. Ethan Hawke, in a certain way, was James Franco before James Franco.
Yeah, it's true.
With the writing
Yeah.
novels and
Yeah.
every possible kind of movie, and
Yeah.
the little TV over and all that kind of stuff like that. But
Yeah.
yeah, it's an interesting thing. The Tiger Hunter, neat little movie actually about this. It's set in the 70s.
Yeah.
This Indian immigrant. He's this guy who's coming to the United States to be an engineer and all of that. And he falls in love with this girl. And he has this father back in India who was this great tiger hunter. And when he gets here, his job sort of goes away and all this kind of stuff. And he falls in with this group of goofy guys. And it's all about him trying to impress this girl and make himself seem like a bigger and more important person than he actually is. It is actually quite funny. And it is the directorial debut of Lena Khan,
Yep.
a female writer-director of color, who I think, we should just make note.
Yeah.
There she is, knocking this movie out. Kevin Pollak, Sam Page. It's a neat little movie.
Good deal.
With John Heder, the Napoleon Dynamite
sure.
years ago. These little movies, though. All right, so I say all of that. I like this movie. It's really cute. Not a lot, but a special feature on here, by the way, the making of the movie. But this movie here did not get a theatrical release.
Yeah.
And, that's a decent cast, man.
That's a great cast. That should get you some kind of a release. That
And
should
I'm
put you
thinking
into theaters.
10, 12 years ago, this is in theaters for a minute anyway.
Yeah.
So I don't know. Something's going to have to happen.
There are screens that are begging to have butts in the seats, and I don't know why. I don't know why it's just not working out. Anyway, George Clooney and Grant Heslov, Suburbicon.
George Clooney
Now
kind of
bonked it.
Coen Brothers kind of fake Coen Brothers thing.
It's what, here's the thing. I mean, Suburbicon, it's the what lurks under the surface of the idyllic 50s neighborhood, and Matt Damon and his family move in and things are not what they seem to be. It's the Stepford neighborhood or whatever you might want to put it. And here's the thing. I love George Clooney. I love him as a filmmaker. Everything he's done with Grant Heslov, I've even the ones that like the football movie, Leatherheads. I even like Leatherheads, which nobody else liked. But there's a problem here, and that is that they're trying to send a message, and it would be a little bit more forgivable. First of all, Matt Damon in all of his is in a rut right now between this and the Alexander Payne film, Downsizing, which are sort of trying to say similar things also. Not good choices. Although, how do you turn down Alexander Payne and George Clooney? I mean, it's just those are two hard projects to turn down. So I can't really blame him. But here's the thing. I was also thinking Suburbicon, if Get Out had not done basically the same thing more effectively, I think people might not have been quite so hard on this film. But I think Get Out raised the bar of what lurks beneath the surface.
Yeah.
Right. Of all of this pretense and, what appears to sort of be idyllic Americana or some kind of an idyllic family in the case of Get Out. If that scab weren't already scratched so effectively in Get Out, I think people might have looked at Suburbicon a little more forgivingly.
Yeah, subversion. Once you start getting into subversion, then the next film has to be somehow more subversive.
That's it. The bar goes up.
Yep.
It goes up. We got some TV. Let's hit a little bit of TV to kind of wrap things out. We got a whole bunch of complete series box sets that were released last year and that fell under the radar a little bit. So they're back on our radar, and one of them. Well, I'll save some of these bigger ones later. One of them is Under the Dome, complete series from Amblin Television, which is a Stephen King adaptation, and
didn't make it all the way through that one.
Yeah,
when it was in broadcast.
Yeah, it's a nice box set. It's a nice big single clear plastic keep case, so you don't have a lot of different little slots and things to deal with, and it's not cheesy packaging like a lot of them are, but. And I didn't read the original book, so I don't know. I don't know how faithful this is, but it does feel a little bit forced in some ways. I mean, the idea of this town that suddenly is covered by a dome and has to exist as its own sort of independent society, nation-state ecosystem, whatever. It's an interesting idea. It's basically Gilligan's Island, on a grander scale, but it doesn't really do what Gilligan's Island did so well. And when you have every opportunity to do so, and Gilligan's Island does it with humor and
it's one of those
satire.
things where unexpected people. So the guy who
it's lost under a dome.
Yeah.
I don't need Lost under a dome. I already had Lost on an Island.
Yeah.
Which was Gilligan's Island without the jokes. And lots of flashbacks.
And no magical smoke monster. Though.
No, exactly. So under the dome didn't really work for me.
Lately, I've been watching Vegas, the old
Robert
just fantastic
series
show on television.
He parked his car in his living room.
He just drove right in there.
Best thing in the world.
Stingray, a car with a car phone. In the middle 70s, let me point out, satellite mobile phone there. And when I've been watching it lately, right, and just watching him walk around that show, and it's obviously set in Vegas, and Phil Morris and all that kind of stuff. I'm looking at the show, and everything is so incredibly modern. He is completely contemporary. I mean, a wide lapel here or there. But other than that, you watch that show, and plus I love watching all of the hotels that are not there anymore. He's driving right in front of them all the time. All the time. He's driving right in front. Plus this show, and this, by the way, is a complete series, all 67 episodes on 18 discs, plus special features.
Best show.
You go through this show, and you see yourself, who do you see? You see Lou Gossett Jr.
Guest stars galore.
Guest stars galore. I mean, you just go, O.J. Simpson shows up in it. I mean, you just go through this show, and they just pop up. They pop up. They pop up. Young as ever. And anyway, love this show. And the great Greg Morris from Mission Impossible.
So good.
Playing the lieutenant in the show. The whole
let me tell you something. There's something to be learned from Vegas. And they recently announced a new Greatest American Hero. Which I I went off on because it's basically got nothing to do with Greatest American Hero. So
I'm going to take exception with you on that, though.
Well, here's the thing: like they've got a new show. There's this new show they're going to do about a young, overweight Indian American woman who becomes a superhero and is really awkward about it. Now, fine, call that something else. Don't call it Greatest American Hero.
But remember, and I meant to write a note about this, because the thing about the Greatest American Hero is, if we remember the show, it didn't have anything to do with the person. The aliens had the suit. The suit wasn't even, and then the old guy who had previously been the guy gave him the suit. And with no instruction manual. So it's the suit.
It's the suit
that makes the hero.
It is indeed the suit that makes the hero. But what made the show was not the hero. No. It was the chemistry between three people. Robert Culp and Connie Salica were as much the stars of that show as William Catt.
Oh, yeah.
He wore the suit.
And the kids, because remember, he was a high school teacher.
Yeah.
He had the whole Sweat Hawks thing going.
That's right.
And a little bit later, the kids would run around with him.
That's right. And the sheer enjoyment of the show was the chemistry, which is that you had Robert Culp with his just hard-ass government conspiratorial commies are coming to get us. I know it's the Russians, like that whole vibe going. And then Connie Salica, who had to kind of balance him out with some sanity and a little bit of sexual tension. It was a really smart ensemble. And where I'm going with that is, it's the same thing with Vegas.
Right.
Yeah, it's about Dan Tana, but it's not.
No, it's that
it's
family.
About all of them. It was a little. The lieutenant, and then Bart.
The guy running around.
And the secretary, and
B was an ex.
Yeah,
dancer,
she'd been a dancer, right?
Whatever.
It's like all these people have this baggage and these backgrounds, and it's that ensemble, and you tune in every week to see them Starsky and Hutch.
Yeah.
Okay, Starsky and Hutch is great, but it still needs Huggy Bear. It still needs Captain Dobie.
You gotta have Dad. You gotta have the crazy uncle. That's Huggy's. They're all just families.
Yeah.
That's all they ever
are.
Somebody's the big, somebody's dad, somebody's uncle. That's all they ever are.
Rockford needs his dad.
It's his actual dad.
And he needs Joe. What's his name?
Angel. What's his name? And Joe. Yeah, all that stuff.
You gotta have all the.
If you don't have the family, it doesn't work.
Magnum PI. We love Rick. Magnum, but he needs Rick and TC.
Yeah.
And he
For
needs
that matter, Higgins.
And the dogs.
And for that matter, Robin
who's
Masters,
never
whoever
really-
may or may not.
These shows are about the ensembles.
It's
anyway.
Yeah.
War of the Worlds, the complete series. Don't know why this ever had to be a series. Probably why it wound up only being 43 episodes. 11 discs, still more episodes
I
than it should have
watched
been.
that back in the 80s.
You know, I mean,
It didn't make any sense because it was set 50. It started to make sense and then it lost
Yeah.
it. It was set 50 years after the events of
Right.
War of the Worlds, right?
Right.
And somehow there was this national memory loss about those events, right? The
Yeah.
whole nation had simply it had been written off. It didn't really happen. Kind of like what happens today, when they all those people who deny the moon landing.
Yes.
it was supposed to have been one of those, except
Yeah.
that it did happen, and all of these aliens were in these 50-gallon drums that had been buried, and then something happens and they start coming back.
and it becomes kind of a post-apocalyptic
Yeah.
slash
And
invasion
then it slips off
thing.
into the goofy zone. But that was an interesting idea. They just
Yeah.
couldn't hold on to it.
Well, what they need to do is they need to figure out, can we get 3 seasons out of this? At
Because
least.
that show was one of the early
Late 80s.
late 80s
Yeah.
syndicated shows,
Yeah.
as opposed to a network
Yeah.
show.
And you got and to make money in syndication, you got to have at least what do they say about at least 80, 90 episodes, something. Well, anyway,
and sell it.
this thing
over
went
and
up with
over
43,
Yeah.
about 2
quite-
seasons.
Didn't quite get there.
Didn't quite get there, but anyway, I mean, there's some laudable stuff in it, but like Tim says, it's just not enough to sustain a series. But anyway, that's out there as well on 11 discs.
Duckman, the complete series. We were talking about some of the wacky
Yeah.
and all this kind of stuff. Duckman was one that I actually rather liked. It kind of got there for me, mostly because he was sarcastic.
Yeah, I like Duckman.
And all the little ducks went around. Anyway, this is the complete series, Private Dick Family Man. Duckman, Private Dick Family Man. All kinds of special features on this, too many to mention. If you're a fan of the series, you're a fan of the series.
Sure.
Right? Yeah.
It's fun. The Guardian, the complete series, 3 seasons, 67 episodes. Almost got there to that syndication bit. The Guardian was a show I watched a little bit at the time. This ran about 2001 to 2004, and didn't really like it so much then. I like it more now, to be honest. This is kind of a boilerplate television legal show, but some really, and Simon, this is the thing that sort of broke Simon Baker through. He still needs to, he's still not as big of a star as I thought he would be.
No, yeah, I thought he was going to be a movie star.
The
but
Mentalist was the
he
next
ended
thing
up
that
being
he
a sort of
did.
television guy. Yeah,
But The Guardian is what sort of was his first thing, and
quasi Edward Woodward.
Yeah.
The Equalizer,
Kinda,
quasi
yeah.
Equalizer.
So anyway, Dabney Coleman plays his dad, who's this big Pittsburgh attorney, and Alan Rosenberg plays an attorney as well, who's always really, really good. Always liked Alan Rosenberg. Really interesting show. It has a lot of resonance for me now, more than it did at the time. Probably more resonance because I've seen Simon Baker in the grocery store a few times, and I'm like, wow, you really look good, dude.
My mom was nuts about
I'm
him.
impressed. He buys low-fat yogurt.
My
Just want to
mom-
let you everyone know. It's at the I always see him buying low-fat yogurt.
My mom would say, "I'm getting ready to watch that show with that pretty white boy." I'm like,
Which one?
Which one, Mom? She's like, you know the one. Never mind. She was talking about him. Tom Hanks, Peter Scolari, and Bosom Buddies, 1980, the complete series.
Yep.
Actually, only 37 episodes because Tom bailed
Yeah.
kind of early on that
Yeah.
that show. Dude, I look back at this show. And Tom had made a movie maybe in the middle 70s,
Yeah.
or two, but I don't know. I might have seen them, maybe I didn't. I certainly don't remember them. But once I saw Tom Hanks in Bosom Buddies,
Right.
I followed him for the rest
did too.
of thus for my
I
life
know.
and his career.
I did too.
So he came in his run on Family Ties. He had that run on Family Ties where
Yeah.
he played
Yeah.
Alex's uncle or something like
Yeah.
that. And then all of those early movies, couple of hits.
Splash and Bachelor
Man
Party.
with One Red Shoe and all of that kind of stuff. But it all began right here.
It sure
The
did.
guy that Tom Hanks plays when he plays in comedies, anyway.
And let's be honest, this is basically Some Like It Hot as a TV
yeah,
show.
it's a TV show. Literally, it's
Yeah.
literally that.
It's
They're in the
Three's
all-girls,
Company. Three's Company meets Some Like It Hot.
And what's weird is, so I'm watching this show in the early '80s. Homie and Bridge, we
Yeah.
love this show. She's bananas about Tom in the show.
Yeah.
Eventually, we move here, right?
Yep.
And every single person in this show, I eventually meet and interview. Multiple times. Something
Yeah.
like every Donna Dixon,
Yeah.
just every single. And I'm just saying, the entire cast of Bosom Buddies, I've actually had an interaction with.
It's.
Which,
I mean, it was
is
a
quite enjoyable.
smart idea. They said Three's Company works. Some people need a place to stay. Housing's tough. Hey, let's have them just dress as women, like in Something Like It Hot.
They were really kind of getting away with it because there was this show contains the notion of a female only hotel,
Yeah.
which was an ordinary thing in all
Yeah.
the movies of the 50s and
Yeah.
in the 60s, Doris Day and all that kind of. That was true. By the time you get to the early 80s, there are no more female only hotels.
No, it doesn't.
That's,
Done
that's
with that.
ludicrous. Dude, I still love Star Trek the animated series.
I do too. Mark doesn't. Good thing he's not here.
What?
Mark
What?
hates it.
What?
He hates all that Filmation stuff.
This is
think
good,
that
though.
It's totally good. They got the original voices and they were able to do things that they couldn't do on the regular show because of special effects,
They
costs,
can get
or whatever.
outside the spaceship with the little force field.
They could do a
spaceships
lot of
they
things in
could do.
animation. It expanded the Star Trek canon, as it were, in a really interesting way. I
The
still think
scores
it's a great
were
show.
great.
Terrific.
Of this. I mean,
Yeah.
they were loops, but it was
Yeah.
really good stuff. Anyway, audio commentaries, all kinds of stuff here. Star Trek the animated series
On Blu-ray.
on Blu-ray, fantastic.
And then we've got the Andy Griffith Show, the complete series, all 249 episodes in a box set. The packaging is a little flimsy.
It looks good, but it's just sort of
It's
flimsy.
cardboardy. It's
Yeah.
cardboardy in a sleeve. But still, and this is not Blu-ray. They started releasing the first 2 seasons on Blu-ray. And they have not continued, and I'm not quite sure why. And my guess is that that's a decision over at Paramount to pull the plug on that, which means we will probably see Shout Factory releasing them as Blu-ray at some point. Shout Factory tends to do that. They did that with Green Acres, right? When they see the shows that studios have released only a few seasons of, and then they pulled the plug because they don't know how to reach the audience. Shout Factory's got your back. So I'm holding out hope that we're going to get complete Andy Griffith on Blu-ray from Shout Factory if they can work something out with Paramount. I'm going to be talking to people at Shout Factory soon. I'll let you know if I find anything out. Anyway,
Paramount ought to take the help.
yeah. But in the time being, we can, here it is, all 249 episodes, all 8 seasons in a box set on DVD, not Blu-ray. And it's great. Lots of extra stuff on here. You even have the crossover when Gomer goes and joins the Marines, and then Fred, who played Gomer's cousin.
Goober.
Yeah, Goober, but
Yeah,
Fred,
I can't
the actor.
remember.
Well, anyway,
Yeah.
from the southern.
Hee-haw.
Yeehaw! Thank you.
Yeah.
Boy, my brain is not
Gomer
working
Goober.
today.
Yeah.
And
We just lost Gomer, or Jim
did.
Neighbors.
Jim Neighbors, yeah.
But I think, is Goober still around?
Yeah, I think he is.
Goober's still around. Okay, yeah.
We'll have to check that up.
Because we're down to almost we're down to nobody but Richie Cunningham, who is
Pretty
Opie,
much, yeah.
right?
Down to Ron Howard.
Down to Ron Howard. Damn.
Down to Ron Howard.
Wow.
Aunt Bee haven't been
Oh,
around
Aunt
for
Bee
a long
been gone-
time.
Well, yeah, about 10 years. Yeah, she's been gone from Andy a couple of years ago.
Yeah.
Actually. Oh, well, there it is.
And Hawaii Five-O, the
boy,
complete
look at that
series.
box.
This is a beautiful box. Now, Hawaii Five-O has been out on DVD for a long time, has never been out on Blu-ray. It's still not out on Blu-ray. They should go back, because these shows were all shot on film.
Yeah.
And they were shot really well on film.
Yeah.
And a lot of great Hawaiian scenery there. They should
they
go
made
back.
use of the actual Hawaiian locations.
They sure did. So they need to go back and get all that source material, all that film material, and you remaster that, and you time it, and you color correct it, and you put that stuff out on Blu-ray, damn it. I want it done. But in the meantime, you can get this big, giant, gorgeous DVD box set of all of Hawaii Five-O, the entire 12-some-odd year run of this thing that went from 1968 to 1980. Covers the 70s, and man, what a
Yeah.
great show. Tim and I talk about this all the time.
Yeah.
73 discs. Damn it, 73 discs. You get a vintage documentary on here, too, Hawaii Five-O, Hawaii Now, and the syndication sales reel, and Mike Douglas show appearance for Jack Lord. A lot of really good stuff on here, but ultimately it's the show that you're watching.
Kicks the crap out of the current, or our
my
contemporary
gosh, no
Hawaii
comparison.
Five-O in terms of first of all, Jack Lord, so there you go.
Yeah.
Cam Fong, all of
No
that, just kicks
comparison.
the crap out of all of that. Not to mention, again, with the cast of characters
Yep.
that you see. I mean, you got Gavin McLeod playing a pimp.
Yep.
In an episode, a scary ass pimp too.
And I have to say this too. I still think the premiere episode of Hawaii Five-0, which introduces Wo-Fat,
Yes.
the villain, a very Batman-like villain who,
Comes
always gets
back,
away
comes
and keeps
back,
coming
yeah.
back, is a tremendous piece of television. It is still a tremendous piece of television. It is creepy and eerie, and it feels very espionage-y, feels very Avengers, you know? It's got it's a great 60s vibe to it, very The Prisoner, right? This little kind of a British spy vibe to it. It's great television, and the show lived up to all of that.
Well, the edge, we talk about this all the time, the edge of those shows from the late 60s, early 70s, this one, Starsky and Hutch, all of it, right?
Streets of San
Subject
Francisco?
matter, Streets of subject matter.
Yeah.
Plenty of it could
Yeah.
not be the subject matters of shows on the air today that air in the same time slots anyway.
True. Yeah. It's all true.
Broadcast television. Couldn't do it.
So, Hawaii Five-0, man, that is a giant, beautiful brick of a complete show, but I gotta highly recommend it. It's gonna be a long time before that thing shows up on Blu-ray. So, if you want to get some good TV on, it's tough to find too. I think it's on Netflix. It might be on Amazon, but it comes and goes. So, you want your Hawaii Five-0, you gotta get this set. All right, with that, we are done. We will be back next week, and email us at gods@digigods.com. We'll have plenty of other fun things coming up on the cinegods.com site as well, and we will talk to you guys next week.